I've noticed something. Motivation tends to change over the years, as it's not the same as it was when I was younger. Of course, you can chalk that up to like different priorities and whatnot. That it's not that I don't want to do things anymore. Like it's, and this is with the full understanding, like the world's on fire right now. But like there's this on a human level, like there's the urgency to just do anything isn't really quite as there. Not in terms of like responding to said world on fire, but things you do in your daily life. Because I feel when I was younger, like it's like I didn't really need a system to get started. I just did things. Like you're young, you got a lot to prove. You're trying to prove yourself. But as you get older, as you build your tenure, it just doesn't really quite work that way anymore. It's like it's as if as soon as you understand more, you kind of feel the tendency to act less. But even up until now, at the eve of my job ending, like, always had the tendency to plan things out. I mentioned in my previous video that in between work, when you're coming to an extended period of time where you're not really on the job, that you're going to try and plan it out. You're going to try and like cross off everything in your bucket list, so to speak, of things to do to try and kill the time until the next job comes in, and that tends to fill up pretty quick. But this time around, it didn't really quite feel that way, where it's not that it's laziness. I don't know, like there's this feeling like that there's progress where nothing really moves. In your older self, you just become more selective and kind of less reactive in a way. Because, as I mentioned earlier about like building the tenure and whatnot, like you kind of gain more clarity about, for the most part, yourself, and it's that clarity with when on the job, that clarity kind of fuels your momentum. But because again, when you're on the job, there's always things to respond to. But when you're off the job, it's as if like that clarity isn't really as strong. I take that back. That's not right. It's really because there's not really something to respond to per se. But it's that planning part that kind of carries over to my off the job life now, where, I mean, case in point, shooting this video right now, creating this YouTube channel, where I've kind of been putting this off for like nearly a week to actually shoot it. I've had this idea to do it for quite some time, and I kind of knew what I wanted to talk about. I kind of knew how I wanted to do it, which is what you're watching right now. But I always felt the need that there's something else that I need to account for before I actually action and execute all of this. And then even beyond that, like I would see all these videos in my algorithm about like things you should do when you're posting your video for like maximum results and all that kind of stuff. So you kind of come to this point where you're going between procrastinating and task paralysis. These are silly buzzwords that I came across when I was researching on this to try and articulate how I'm feeling right now. So what I mentioned about putting off shooting this and trying to find anything else to account for, that's the crux of procrastinating. You're just always tinkering on the idea of doing something before you actually do something. And in the case of what to do once this video is done and how I should go about it when posting it, that's where like the task paralysis kind of sets in, because there's so many ways to go about it. Everyone, especially these days, has an opinion on how to do it. It's hard to navigate how to figure out which is the best way to go. And I think to my ultimate point is that when you're going through these things, it's like as much clarity as you can get and trying to figure these two parts of the spectrum out. Like you gain some clarity, but the motivation and urgency isn't really quite as there as compared to when you're on the job, when you have deadlines and whatnot. So when you're doing something for yourself, it changes, because it's this larger picture of like betting on yourself, and you're really only doing this for you. As much as this is a format of like taking videos of myself and putting it online for everyone to see and whatnot, it's not that I don't care. It's like the opposite of that. You're just trying to avoid some kind of uncertainty. And that's really what kind of reframes how you interpret motivation, especially in this kind of setting. Because when you're younger, you're more willing to act without knowing, because you need the experience. I mean, it's not that when I was that age that I would like willingly say that, like, I need the experience. You're just open to trying new things. But again, at a much older age, you're not cautious, not hesitant, but again, like, it's a different kind of motivation that'll see you through these kinds of things. Because when you're off the job, you're kind of going into some kind of weird, great unknown in a way where again, you don't really know what to do with yourself. You don't really know when the next job's going to come in. At some point, you're going to start feeling anxious about your purpose in life and whatnot, and like you got bills to pay, all those kinds of things. It's not as bad as you get older, but it's still there, and that's really what kind of drives this reframing of motivation in a way. Like, I feel during the job, because it's on a time deadline, so as much as you want to account for like trying to plan for the best way in, at some point you just gotta go, fuck it, like just go. Like, you'll figure it out along the way. And in a sense, that still carries over to post-job life, where you're trying to figure things out. It's the bigger picture that's kind of causing you to pause and before actually getting out there to do these kinds of things, or do what you need to do what you set out to do. Case in point, shooting this video. So, I mean, the obvious answer there is really just, you just have to try and just break things down. So in the case of shooting this, like, yeah, like I put it off for a few weeks. Like I kind of had a plan already and like how I wanted to shoot this, like where I wanted to be, where I wanted to shoot it, what I wanted to say. Had that all planned out. So like the planning was sorted, but I was stuck in the execution. Because again, when you see it from the bigger picture goal, like it kind of comes mildly overwhelming, and that kind of, again, reframes your motivation a bit. But I think once you put into sort of like step-by-step mini goals on what you need to do. So like the bigger picture is trying to achieve recording these types of videos and put it out there. But obviously there's more to that in terms of logistics, because I'm out here hiking, so you wanted to plan that out. So it helped for me to just try and break it down that way. Well, it can be as silly as like step one, wake up. To get here at this time, I had to wake up around like 4 a.m. because as secluded as this area can be, I mean, you'll come across people here every now and then, and I'm shy. I want to do this on my own. But back to my point, you just, step one, wake up. Step two, pack your bags. So you're just trying to check off all these little things. Step three, like walk to the hiking trail. Step four, like try and find a nice spot. Set up your camera, make sure everything works, and get started. As soon as you start checking off all these little things, that really helps in trying to build the momentum. That really helps in terms of trying to build your motivation, wanting to see this through. I mean, in a less positive light, it's like, well, I'm already here, we might as well do this. But to get myself out of bed, it helped to see it that way, to really bite-size achievement to fuel the motivation to keep it going. Because I felt in the job there was a bigger driver to see you through those types of scenarios, but off the job, like it's not there anymore. You feel glad that you're free of it, but you need to replace it with something else. That's really what brings us here. So if motivation feels different, it's not that it was disappearing. It just feels different. So when it comes to things like procrastinating or task paralysis per se, buzzwords, you should put those in hashtags in the description to see how far it goes. But the motivation to plan is easy, but the motivation to start, that's really key in all this. Like I'll walk you through how I went about it and got us here, finishing this video. One thing to note too is that like once you put things in bite-sized baby steps, like it helps with the motivation, yes. It builds momentum to get you here. But it's also the step-by-step clarity in realizing these things. That also helps in a motivation. Because again, things don't move you the same way it did back when you're in the day job. But there's always ways around it to try and figure it out when you're off the job. Proof of it being, I just finished this video.